I'm sure you're all aware of what this is. It's a notebook. It might be funny for me to show off something so analog here on my tech channel, but bear with me for a second. You see, I like to come back to notebooks in order to do things like 5-minute journals or gratitude journals, and I like methods like the bullet journaling method for plotting out my everyday. The thing is, a notebook is only really effective if it's on you at all times. And as you can see from this notebook here, if I can just get the camera to focus on it real quick, it's very hard for me to finish a notebook from cover to cover. Obviously, I live a very digital lifestyle, so I'm always looking for the conveniences that tech can provide while searching for applications that more or less replicate the level of expression you can have in a notebook. Enter Notion, an app that you might be familiar with already and is a powerful tool in the organization of one's life. But in my case, it is the way that I have been able to replicate the experience that I have in my notebooks. So hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Here is how I use Notion in my daily life. Brought to you by Notion. Oh, and before I forget, get into the description below. You can find the link to try Notion out for yourself. You can already see on the left side that, well, my workspaces only have like 3 sections. There are some Notion users out there who have so many things there, and really, I have to applaud just how well they can compartmentalize so many parts of their lives and their work. In my case, however, I am basically using Notion as a very robust task manager, while still providing a little bit of journaling along the way. It's for that reason that I have what is called the master task list. This is where everything that I want to do, no matter what part of my life it is a part of, goes into this particular table. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. You'll see that I have a lot of different ways of just looking at this task list. In some cases, I have it categorized for the various areas of my life. And then up here, I have different ways of looking at it from a bird's eye view. So here's the master list, and this basically has every single task I can ever think of. That way I get it out of my brain and down onto my Notion, and I can organize it based upon, well, the work I have to do. So what we're going to do first, I'll preview this. Let's jump into one of my reviews, and the first thing I'll do is open that up and show you that I have a template here for various tasks. This is for a YouTube video. And then I have other ones for, let's say, my social media, where I put down captions. We'll go into those templates a little bit more later, but first let's get a bird's eye view of the list. This is a table, otherwise known as a database, where you can set various parameters or various properties for each and every entry. Now, we already have the different tasks here under name, but over on the left is one of the most important parts, and that is the target date. This is when I want to get the work done. And on the very right side, I also jot down when the actual work was finished, or in the case of content, when it was published. That way I know how much time it actually took me to do that particular task. In the middle, we have the other important bits of information. The tags are important because this is where I actually compartmentalize the various things I need to do based upon the area of my life it is a part of. So first thing that we have at the top here is the next gameplay video that I did for Cyber Shadow under a channel called JV Plays Games. That's my gaming channel. Go and subscribe. I also have my channel under JV, and right next to it here I have sponsored. There are a lot of tags for all of the different things that I might need to do, and I can put more than one in each task. So for example, it could be a Pog Now sponsored video, it could be a Tech and Tea podcast sponsored podcast, or it could be a JV video that also has an embargo because I need to make sure I have those things in line. Let me scroll down pretty far so you can see some tasks I did early last year. That's how long I've been using Notion. Now, there are no target dates here because that was a more recent development, something I added to my workflow. But there are personal tasks, like for example right here, pay your office rent. That is a personal task, and it doesn't quite fit into the other, let's say, Pocket Now or JV categories. Back up here at the top, you'll see the next property is sponsor. Now this is where I type in all of the different sponsors for various pieces of content, and by seeing it there, it will remind me to check on any emails or any contracts to make sure that I'm doing everything right for that sponsor. After that is status, and this is where I do the step-by-step process of my actual work. It's just a way for me to know how far I am or where I am currently in each task. Starts off with not started, then you have planning, which might be like doing research, scripting, because I do script most of my videos, the actual act of shooting, editing the video, which is itself a long task, and then waiting in case I need to actually wait for, let's say, approval, or I'm just waiting for someone else to actually publish the video or the content, and then of course complete. I do have a scrapped category or status, mainly because sometimes I have ideas that come to mind, and if I don't have the time to get around to them, sometimes you just have to take the L and say, hey, I'm not going to do it. And then finally, I have the notes here, which is where I put things down like embargo dates and times, because those are really important, and any notes that I need to have for any of these pieces of content, just things I need to keep in mind. And then finally, the publish date. Again, publish date and target date are things I started implementing very recently, just so I can have a bird's eye view of how long it took me to do any given task. So that's the master list. That includes everything that I have completed. So I have a place to refer back to everything that I have been doing. I have a list of a ton of completed tasks, thank God, but I also have a list that shows everything without the completed or the scrapped tasks. That way it only shows me what I'm going to be working on in the future or what I should be working on now. That is under here, the task list. Now I'm not actually going to go to it because I don't want to spoil what's coming up on my YouTube channel. Just rest assured that it is this list, sans or without the completed list. But here's where things get fun. Let's go into the current look list. The current look list, which will show you a few things that's coming up, so I don't mind you knowing. What I have here are some pretty powerful filters and sorting tools working in tandem. If you go over here up to filter and sort, we have filter, which allows me to filter out anything that I don't want seen in this particular view of the database. This is the one that has the target date being within the past week and within the next week. So I'm only looking at what I need to look at for now. And I also just take out anything that is complete or anything that is scrapped. The last thing I do is I sort it by target date, which is pretty obvious as to why I do that. Like I said, this is where I live in the majority of my Notion workflow. I can add in new tasks, but if it doesn't land within the 1 or 2 week span that I have this filtered as, it's not going to show up in my current look list. That way I can just keep in mind everything that I have to do, even if it's personal tasks like putting away your laundry. Still haven't done that. But it is just showing me what is in front of me so I don't get overwhelmed by everything coming later on. The thing is, you can have many different ways of looking at the same parameters. For example, if we go over to the top left of the page here, we have a bunch of different views. It's the same views that you can see here over on the left side. If I were to add a view, there are a few different ways. You have the table, which is what I showed you. You have a Kanban board. I'll show you that in a second. A recent timeline view, which I haven't really dove into yet. And then, of course, a calendar. So what I have here are a calendar. So we have the calendar so I can actually see it on a block-by-block basis per day, and then the Kanban board, which organizes everything based upon where I am in that workflow. You can actually drag everything in here. Let's just say I'm planning to put away my laundry. Let's go ahead and say that. But yeah, based upon where I am in the workflow, I know that I should be probably getting these done because I'm already in the editing phase. I can just get it all done. But if I'm scripting something right now, I have to get moving into the shooting segment of the workflow, so I better get that script done. So this is just another way of actually organizing all of those tasks. And then on the bottom half of this list, I have just the specific categories of my life that I like to have planned. JV, Poggin Now, Tech and Tea, which is my personal podcast, which I haven't done in a while, and then of course personal tasks and sponsored content. So here I am in personal tasks. Clearly I don't have too many of them here, but that's the point of this master task list. Whenever I think of something that I have to do, no matter what it is, I have to throw it in there. I'm actually going to create a new category for Technically Together, which is the podcast that I do with Issa, so that we can actually have those listed in my task list. All right, so let's dive into some actual templates. I'm going to create a new task here. Let's just arbitrarily say it's due today. That's what it does anyway. And we'll call it example task. We'll say that it is a JV and personal task. And then I'll set the status to planning. And let's just put example under sponsor and example under notes. What you'll see is that while I did add in those pieces of info on the line, if I were to open this task as a page, which is available for every task, you'll see that they're available up here as well. So you have multiple places to input your stuff. Down here, the actual body of the task, I have various templates. I have a YouTube template for my videos, Pocket Now Weekly podcast template, Tech and Tea podcast template, a social media template, which is actually new to my workflow because I want to have a place to plan out my captions for Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and then a gaming video template, which, here's the funny part, a gaming video typically doesn't have a whole lot of text. It's not like I script any of my gaming videos. So here, as it loads up, here's a block text that I added into this template that says, usually gaming videos don't have much text, but put notes down here if you need to. Now, the YouTube template, I kind of derived some of this from Thomas Frank's template, which is something you can actually find online and duplicate into your Notion workspace. That way you can use his template for your workflow. The thing is, in my case, all I really did was I took the script area because I script most of my videos, and then I took the shot list area. He has way more in his template, and he really plans every little part of it out in the actual template. So here we have the script where I'll just start typing up my script. And then when I'm done with my script, I'll show you an example in a second, I actually go down the script and put down all of my ideas of what shots I would want in that video. Here's a perfect example. This is a video I did recently for Pocket Now where I did the script here on the left side, 2,000 words of a script. Actually, what I'll do here is I'll open this as a page so we can get a much better look at it. So here's the actual task. It's for Pocket Now. It's currently waiting to be published, but I have this on the left side, the script. This is literally what I will say on camera. I type everything out. I'm a very long form note taker. And once I'm done with the script, I will actually read it down paragraph by paragraph, and as shots come to mind that I want to overlay on top of my talking head, I type them all down here so that when I get into the shooting stage, I can use my phone. I can actually use my phone to access this task, and I get over here and just check things off as I get them. What I like about this workflow is that I get all of the shots in order. So once I get into editing, it's easier for me to just take each shot one by one as I'm cutting up the A-roll and just put that B-roll right on top. So like I said, this is literally the way that I use Notion the most. For my workflow, I use it as a powerful task manager that also includes layers of word processing for my scripts and for all of the ideas that I want to have for any given video or piece of content. The thing is, I do have two other sections here that I will go through. The daily guide I'm going to do last because it's very near and dear to my heart. It's something that I actually created. But then the brain dumps is something that I got from Michelle B., another Notion creator who has a bunch of great tips. So you can check that video out as well. Basically what I did with hers, this is very new to me, is that I have a section called brain dumps and I have other tables and databases here just for various notes. Basically, anytime something comes up that I want to record, like in life notes, I just pick what category I might want to have that in, like for example, self notes and thought. Talking for a long time messes my voice up. So that might be a thought that I want to make sure I have. And the reason why I said that just now is because I've been doing this video for probably the past hour. There's a lot to edit in this one. But yes, I have that thought, maybe some notes, maybe where I got that thought, and the day. So the date, actually, let's change this property to be the date. And the date is today. And of course, because these are tables / databases, each and every entry that you put in can be opened up as its own page where you can add even more thoughts. Okay, so that was a lot of stuff just in task management and just note taking. And I hope you got some ideas as to how you can use Notion in your own daily life. But now here we are at the part of this Notion setup that makes this very JV. This is very personal to me because I actually created this template from absolute scratch. And it's basically the recreation of what I would write into my notebooks. You see, every morning I would make some tea and then write in my notebook my 5-minute journal, which is basically a gratitude journal. And then after that, use bullet journaling in order to plot out the things I want to do throughout the day. Now, here's the other thing that I added into my Notion version of that workflow, and it is, well, good self-talk. Enter the personal daily guide. This is something that I created so that I could actually literally guide myself through everything I want to do every single day. If you're anything like me, you get really distracted easily throughout the day. No matter how many tasks you have in front of you or how many things that you want to do on any given day, it might be really hard to do so if you're not reminding yourself of it all the time. On top of that, something that some of us might have is some pretty bad self-talk in the sense that if we don't get certain tasks done, well, we might beat ourselves up for it. The daily guide also helps me because it is constantly reminding me to not do that to myself. Again, I have it as a template, and I've been building this over the last number of months, which is why I wanted to show you that back in July is when I actually kind of started using it. I actually have a bunch of these entries archived right now. I just wanted to show you that I have had this for a little bit of time. We're going to go through one of these templates right now. I don't want to show you any of these because they can get a little bit personal. So we're just going to make a new entry, and I will give you an example of my daily guide. The first thing I do is just jot down what day it is. Today is Friday, January, today is the 29th, I think. So if we look at the date, I have to jot down the date for organizational purposes. And then we have January 29, 2021. Now you'll see that the different properties here are available. These are all things that I want to habit track throughout the day. And I'll show you where that actually comes in handy. But let's say this morning I woke up at 10 a.m. Don't hate me. I did sleep over 6 hours, and when I woke up, I made sure to make the bed. I am a type 2 diabetic, so I have an area here to jot down my blood sugar so I can actually track it throughout each day. And then I have supplements I take in the morning, which then are followed up by various things I hope to do throughout the day, which are exercise for at least 20 to 30 minutes, meditate for at least 10 minutes, and learn something for at least 30 minutes, whether it's reading a book, listening to an audiobook, listening to a podcast, or anything of the sort. Then finally, I have my night routine, which includes like brushing my teeth and skincare and anything like that before I finally jot down my bedtime, which, let's say, like it has been recently, kind of late, 1 in the morning. So that's just how we start off. That is the first way that we start off these daily guide templates. But then when I click here, you'll see a whole world open up. I'm going to go ahead and hit your daily guide, and this is where all of the self-talk, the good self-talk, begins. You'll see here that I'm actually typing down every little thing that would guide me through my process. Welcome to a new day. Let's make sure you're set up for success. These are toggles here. So if I were to, again, slash on any particular block, and you can find so many different ways of creating the same block. You can have a to-do list, bulleted list. You can have the toggle list, which is what I'm talking about right now. I use military time. It's just a little bit easier to type out quickly. How many hours of sleep is that? I'm literally trying to be introspective about how much rest I'm getting and everything that I need to do. Now here's that good self-talk. If you're up late, it's okay. Make sure to minimize your distractions today to get things done. Sleep earlier tonight. Then I guide myself. Make the bed now. Once the bed is made, I come back to this particular page. I might even be looking at it on my phone. And then I tell myself, go drink water with your supplements and then make your morning pick-me-up. It used to be coffee, but now it's tea. Take deep breaths as you brew. Got to get some of that breath work in. After that, I check my blood sugar because I usually do it while I'm waiting for my tea to steep. Then I'll just type it here. Then finally, ready, get sipping, and let's begin. You can see here how I'm literally wanting to guide myself because no one else is going to do it. So I'm basically talking to myself through this template. These are all of the things that I have in my head when I'm writing down everything in a notebook, but now I actually have it tangibly in front of me as I'm doing it in Notion. Oh, and by the way, if you go over here on the side, I literally downloaded an image, and what you can do is you can upload it. I uploaded this funny little GIF. I mean, who doesn't love dogs? I have this here, and the dog literally takes out a sign that says, I love you. Again, good self-talk. This is all stuff that hopefully will put you in a good mindset as you start your day. The next section of the daily guide is the 5-minute journal. And of course, little reminders like this. This is what it's called a call out. So if I were to show you this, call out. A call out basically allows you to add a little emoji there and then a little thought, and it's shaded in so that it stands out. So in this case, it's good. Keep all this in mind today. You'll notice that I'm actually putting together a bunch of different productivity hacks. The first one being the 5-minute journal. The next one being GTD, which is get things done. That is what the task list is for. This next one is what is called the highlight. This is another productivity little tip where you have to think about the one specific thing that you want to do that day. You have to have that intentionally in mind, and that is what you'll focus on throughout the day. You can have other things going on as well, but you have to really focus on your highlight. So that's the next question. Describe the most important thing you have to do today, your highlight. And then what else do you want to get done today? And this is where I'm literally thinking about everything I want to do, jotting it down, that way it's more intentional. Finally, on the right side, this is a link to my actual Google Calendar, and it allows me to look at what tasks I might have, or not tasks, but appointments I have during the day. I tend to use Google Calendar for appointments and Notion for task management. So I'm trying not to dip my toes in too many places at once. So that's the reason why I separate the two. And again, more call outs here at the bottom. Be aware of your appointments today and take note of upcoming appointments. Add anything that is missing, because if I think of something that I have to do today, but I look at my calendar and it's not there, I got to cross-reference and make sure both have the same information. The same thing goes over here. Everything that I said is my highlight or things I wanted to do that day. I want to make sure it's in the master task list, which I have linked below. You can see here, this is the same exact, almost the same exact database that I have in the current look of the master task list. Only I have changed the look here so that it's not last week and the upcoming week, it's actually yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So I have a very specific look at the tasks that I didn't finish yesterday, the tasks I need to do today, and what I want to be ready to do for tomorrow. Once I have a good idea of what I need to do for that particular day, I come down to this portion here where I remind myself that every day I should be trying to work out. This is one of the things I do the least. I do need to get back to a regular workout regimen, but at the very least in the daily guide, it is constantly reminding me every day that I should do it and I have to make time for it eventually. That is my entire setup in my mornings to get me ready for the rest of the day, which is what I tell myself. You now know what you need to do today, and it would be good to meditate for at least 10 minutes. This is a link that goes straight to my Headspace account where I can pick a meditation in order to do before I literally get started with my day. Ease your mind so that you can focus. And there you go. One last call out that says, good job. You just did the work to set yourself up for a productive day. You got this. Go get it. At the end of this, I would go up to the top right, hit favorite. That way it is listed at the top there under favorites. And it is always there so that when I'm working on anything, I can just refer back to the personal daily guide and be able to remind myself of everything that I need to be reminded of. So what happens when you get to the end of the day? Like with a regular 5-minute journal, you also have a section that you do before you go to bed. I did the same thing in the daily guide, and it's basically what we just did, but in reverse. Good evening, time for the wind down. Did you get everything done today that you wanted? And here is the part where you don't beat yourself up. It's okay if you didn't. Just update the list. Actually, I'll put just update the list so that those tasks are prioritized for tomorrow. And then right below it is literally a copy of the same task list that was there in the morning portion of the daily guide. We come back to the philosophy of the highlight by saying, what will tomorrow's highlight be? That way I'm very intentional about what I need to do. Same questions only cater to tomorrow. Same thing with my appointments. And now you're officially done with your work today. Did you work out at all today? If not, check the time because it could be at any point during the evening and decide if you have a half hour, reminding myself that it's not really that long if you have half an hour to do it now. And then for the final portion, it is literally the very beginning of what we did just in reverse for when we go to bed. Almost time for bed. Let's get your mind right for rest. This is the other half of the 5-minute journal. What are 3 dope things that happened today? Clearly it's in my wording. And then, how could I have made today better? And now the proper wind down. Try to limit your blue light exposure for the rest of the evening. I'm in front of screens all the time, and that includes my smartphones. So I try to have those blue light filters on as much as possible, or when I can, I literally turn off as many lights as I can to ready myself for bed. Does it work all the time? No. Sometimes I end up scrolling on TikTok until like 2 a.m., but these are, again, reminders of things that I know are good for me. And actually, here's a really good example of how templates are always evolving. So here I am changing it up again because I just copied this from the top. I forgot to change this from what time did you sleep last night? What it should be is what time do you want to wake up tomorrow? Go wash your face if you're not going to shower, get your skincare done, and brush your teeth. See how many things I want to remind myself of? It might seem a little bit odd that I have to literally tell myself all of these things, but think about all of the times you didn't even brush your teeth before bed, or you just were working hard all day that you just knock out in bed. That's literally me. And then a just final good self-talk. Even if you don't think so, you did good today. Don't beat yourself up. It would be good to meditate for at least 10 minutes, yet another opportunity for me to do so. Ease your mind so that you can rest. And then finally, rest well and come back here tomorrow so that we can kill it again. Good night. And so there you have it, the daily guide, something I'm very proud that I created because since I work pretty much solo all the time, I don't really have somebody actually giving me this type of guidance, so I had to give it to myself. Now, it's a lot of work to write it every single day in the notebook, but it is something I did do for a while. But with Notion, I'm able to create a template that allows me to have it all in one place, ready to go so that I'm literally guiding myself. One final bonus, if we go all the way up to the top, all of these areas, if you remember from the master task list, these come up as properties in the table that you create. So the same thing goes for the daily guide. Over here on the left side, I have pages, which you have seen here. These are the various pages that I have available. And then I have my habits. Those properties show up in a format like this, a table format, so I have a bird's eye view of the habits I'm trying to track every single day. You can already see that I'm very bad at the exercise, I'm very bad at the learning, and I'm very bad at meditating. These are all habits that I want to track more often, but I'm still learning how to better manage my own time. But at the very least, I have the reminder there in the daily guide. And this is a great way of using the daily guide pages in yet another fashion, the habit tracker. That's the thing I love about Notion. Not only is it powerful enough to recreate what I do in a notebook, it also is really powerful to the point where each and every entry you make can be used in more than one fashion. This was one example right here, but then you also saw in the task list that each task in the table is also its own word processor for me to type out my scripts, which eventually get put into a teleprompter, which I use to get all my videos done. And finally, if we're talking about various different ways that you can access the same amount of information, here it is on a smartphone, easily available so that I can keep referring back to it no matter where I am. Ooh, all right, that will do it. This was a look at my Notion workflow that includes my master task list and also my personal daily guide. These are ways that I use Notion to literally guide myself through every single workday, or really every day, to be honest. There's so many different uses for Notion, and I truly believe in it. As you saw, I've been using it for over 2 years now, and I really enjoy using it, so I think you can too if you just put in the time to learn the ins and outs of it. Hopefully my video, which might be a little bit more simplistic compared to some other really robust creator Notions, will give you a glimpse into how to get started. If you want to try Notion for yourself, again, there is a link in the description down below for you to get your own account and to get started. There might be a bit of a learning curve, but once you get the hang of the different ways that you can actually customize your pages or your tasks or your workspaces, it becomes a super powerful tool. Thanks for hanging out with me in this video as I showed you my Notion workflow, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see even more, especially my tech content, which we'll get back to very soon. From there though, I'm going to call it on this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and enjoy your tea, everybody.